You'll see a toy that you had when you were 3 or 4, and the memories just hit you. I remember being in the house with my brother, and we had these cars, and we run them in the garden and covered them in mud or whatever, or we had the Millennium Falcon, we threw it down the stairs or whatever. I think it's that trigger to your childhood, and I think that's the biggest power of old toys.
That's a toy collector and dealer who knows a thing or two about old toys like that. He's peddling all sorts of old Star Wars gear at the Toy Collectors Fair, which ran earlier this month in the UK. More than 3,000 collectors and 550 sellers turned out for this thing, with toys and collectibles of all shapes and sizes. Cars, dolls, action figures, and bin after bin of nude, disassembled body parts.
I'd be lying if we all said we do it for the fun. We do it for the money at the end of the day. However, 50% of it is, and probably 75% is the social aspect, because you get to know people. People come back and buy more stuff.
Our dealer here told the Associated Press that on his very best day of sales ever, he brought in more than $6 grand in money. And some of the items on display here were going for more than $700 a pop. But of course, like he said, he thinks dealers are half doing this for the money and 3/4 doing this for the social element.
And you just get to know these guys, and then for me, I'll chase stuff. So if somebody wants a certain thing, oh yeah, I'll look for you. And it's about the social thing.
So I always think of toys as a wheel, and the toys that I was selling in the early 80s, the collectors really are starting to die, and the need and the price of them is starting to dip.
This guy's a toy dealer and auctioneer who's been known to sell more than 600 toys on a busy day. And while he observes that an older clientele appears to be focused on spending quality time with their Grim Reaper action figures, new generations of what used to be children are preparing to restock their toy chests.
Toys for people who were playing with them in the 80s and 90s are now very much coming on trend. And that will change again, because as they get older, the price will go up and it will come down. And then eventually these things become genuinely old and hard to find.
Yeah, for generations more accustomed to Stargate, Jurassic Park, and Waterworld, toys like these are proving to be popular fodder for kidults. Yeah, I said kidults. Per the Collins Dictionary, an adult who enjoys doing things that are intended for children. Someone firmly in the audience crosshairs for Mandy Patinkin covers of The Ugly Duckling. A recent survey of 2,000 Gen Z and millennial types commissioned by a miniature toy company, that's to say a regular-sized company that makes miniature-sized toys, last year found in the survey that 59% of respondents identified as kidults. Adults who hold on to their childhood spirit via consumer products like video games, toys, and more. Of those surveyed, more than half said that they'd buy a toy or collectible from their youth if it reminded them of their childhood or fit their personality or aesthetic. With 65% realizing they're now able to buy things for themselves that their parents wouldn't or couldn't let them have as a kid. Considering the millennial generation started in 1981 and the oldest among us is now 43 years old, yeah, go ahead and buy that Joey Buttafuoco comic book you've had your heart set on for 4 decades. And actually, you better, because the price is bound to go up.
Let's call them antique, for want of a better word, and then the price comes back up the other side. So it's a real wheel that just keeps turning and turning and turning. The clever man or woman is the person who spots that wheel very early.
Now, even though you're likely to find plenty of these types of collectibles on eBay, as I'm sorry to report, they're not in high demand for live stage performances these days, but stumbling across a patch of CSS and HTML that represents your lost youth doesn't necessarily pack the same punch as seeing that same thing in the flesh, or at least however it's being represented.
I think the real thrill is if you're looking around a fair, not quite knowing what you might come across.
That's the guy who organized this Toy Collectors Fair, holding what very well might be the toy car of your dreams.
And I think that's you never lose that, because you think, well, just around the next corner might be that toy or that train that I've been looking for ages right there.
Of course, ages is relative here. Many of the dealers at this show were past the age of 50, leaning heavily on the dolt part of the kidult.
I think it's fine. I was a bit nervous when I started up, but now I've been friends with all the sort of regular traders and stuff. So to be honest, they kind of will treat me like an adult because, yeah, so it doesn't feel weird or awkward at all.
That's a 12-year-old who's been dealing Lego since 2022, and he plans to sell his plastic goods at more than 40 events this year. After all, the new and secondhand Lego markets are thriving, and our tween trader here even notes that Lego is a safer investment than gold, which might sound like wishful thinking coming from your average 12-year-old hoping to convince their parents to buy that giant $300 Batman cityscape. But there was actually a recent study from Research in International Business and Finance that found the average 11% return on investments in LEGO products outperforms stocks, bonds, and gold.
In collecting this Lego, it's a great hobby. I mean, you're never going to lose money because it's always going up. So just by the amount it goes up by every year. So I mean, if you're looking to make a bit of money, just go with your hobby like I did, and then yeah, if you're collecting Lego, you can't really lose.
Your news refresh is not offering up Legos as investment advice. However, we do advise you to like this video and subscribe to @TheNewsRefresh on YouTube for more weird and interesting news stories like these each and every day. Thanks.